Spurs in £80 million Semenyo race. Amanda Staveley spotted as VIP guest at the Spurs stadium on Sunday. Ex-Brentford striker keen for a reunion with Frank. Vuskovic continues to shine and Tinker scores again for Spurs women. Here are your daily Tottenham news headlines. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name's Craig and here are your daily Tottenham news headlines where I'll be going through all the latest news, rumours and reports. If you're watching on YouTube and are not already as yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Like, share and comment below. And if you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. And if you do have a spare moment, please do vote for us at the Football Content Awards. All of the links are below. Okay, let's get into it. Luka Vušković continued his brilliant form for Hamburg versus Mainz at the weekend. 90 minutes played, a clean sheet, 15 clearances, 21 defensive contributions, 5 out of 7 aerial duels won, 7 ball recoveries, 3 blocks and 3 interceptions. That's 41 clearances made in the last 3 games. Various reports are saying that Thomas Frank has made direct contact with Ivan Toney over a possible loan move to Tottenham Hotspur for the upcoming January transfer window. Toney apparently wants a Premier League return after dissatisfaction with life abroad. Along with rivals Chelsea, Spurs are believed to be willing to pay a significant proportion of Toney's wages as the striker looks to boost his international prospects ahead of the 2026 World Cup. And from Tottenham News, Amanda Staveley was a surprise VIP guest at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for the NFL clash between the Minnesota Vikings and the Cleveland Browns, according to Alan Nixton via his Patreon on 5th of October. ENIC have already rejected an expression of interest from Staveley and her PCP international group. The Lewis family have claimed that they will not sell at the moment, but that has not stopped interest behind the scenes. While she faces a 3-month waiting period before she can act, Staveley's acquisition of Tottenham has not been completely ruled out. Staveley and her backers, a consortium with American and Qatari interests, are not the only ones linked to the sale of the North London club. Former DJ Brooklyn Eric could pay $5.5 billion for Tottenham despite the Lewis family's reluctance to sell. With several reported interested parties, the face of Spurs could look very different once the season ends. Football Insider have reported that Tottenham have been informed they would need to pay £80 million to secure a transfer for Antoine Semenyo, although any transfer would need to wait until next summer, with the January exit already dismissed by the Cherries. Semenyo, whose contract with Bournemouth runs until 2030, has made a terrific start to the campaign with 6 goals and 3 assists already to his name in only 7 Premier League appearances. Even though a January transfer for Semenyo might not be on the cards, Tottenham Hotspur would need to act quickly to secure the 25-year-old's signatures, as his exceptional form will inevitably attract numerous other suitors. Nevertheless, he promises to be an exceptional signing for the Londoners. Not only has he proven himself in the Premier League, but his ability to perform against the bigger opponents is what truly made him stand out. His dribbling and finishing and in his decision-making in the final third, combined with the ability to play on both wings as well as in the middle of the park, makes Semenyo an extremely attractive option, even at £80 million. And Tandberg scored her 3rd Women's Super League goal of the season as Tottenham beat Brighton to move 3rd. Jessica Nazi's low cross in from the left evaded the Brighton defence and Tangberg was lurking at the back post to tap into the net. Tinker said in a post-match interview, she said, "I told her I'm always at the back post, so just cross it and I'll be there." Head coach Martin Ho's impressive start in the WSL continues as the victory over Brighton now sees us climb to 3rd in the current standings and just 1 point behind league leaders Chelsea at this stage, who we meet on Sunday at Kingsmeadow. Tottenham are level on points with 2nd placed Man City, as both men's and women's teams sit 3rd in their respective leagues. In fact, Spurs men's team have picked up 10 points in 4 Premier League away games under Thomas Frank. That is as many as in their previous 13 Premier League away matches under Ange Postecoglou last season. Okay, well, here's my thoughts on all those stories today. Firstly, Luka Vušković. What a player this young lad is. He obviously took a little while to find his feet in Germany, but since then, I mean, he had a rough game against Harry Kane, but who doesn't have a rough game against Harry Kane every now and then? Since then, he's just going on to show what a prospect he is for me. Man of the matches, performances, those numbers I read out are astonishing for a player so young. And some people are saying we should bring him back in January. Personally, I think you let Luka Vuskovic see the season out for Hamburg. I think that would benefit him more. You know, constant game time, just in one of the top 5 leagues in Europe. It can only be a good thing. Apparently the fans love him over there as well. So hopefully he can come back next summer. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Wouldn't surprise me at all if Vuskovic comes back next year. And Thomas Frank perhaps plays more of a back three sometimes. Vuskovic, how good would it be to see him fitting in there between Mickey van der Ven and Christian Romero? I just think he's going to learn so much this season that it's going to benefit him to stay in Germany and just progress his career and then come back in the summer. And he's going to be an absolute monster. He already is, Luka Vuskovic. Rough around the edges, of course. Still a lot to learn, but the experience he's getting out there, this is one loan deal that's working really well, I have to say. So I'm really pleased for Vuskovic. Obviously, we signed him a few years ago now, when he was 15, 16 years old. Incredible signing, really. So many of Europe's top clubs wanted Vuskovic and were looking at him, and we got him. I'm really interested, as he is our future. I'm really interested to see where this is going to go with Vuskovic. A top talent, and definitely one to keep an eye on. This story about Ivan Toney possibly coming back, that was mixed in the comments. That was definitely mixed, people's opinions on this. I'm not sure where I sit. Personally, I'm not sure this is a goer. Apparently, Toney's attitude wasn't the best, but of course, he worked under Thomas Frank, and Frank, we know, can get the best out of him. And ultimately, Frank's going to be the one making the decision on this. Not too many links with this, but it's definitely out there. And whether Frank has actually spoken to Toney, no idea. This could just be the press making something out of nothing. It could be completely made up, but apparently the truth is there that Toney does want to come back to the Premier League to enhance his chances of getting back into that England squad. Obviously not happy where he's gone. Making a load of money, apparently £400,000 a week now. Spurs really going to be paying, saying the majority of it, £300,000 a week for Ivan Toney. Can't see it myself personally. I really can't. But get down in the comments, let me know. Would you take Ivan Toney at Tottenham? Not sure I would, to be honest. I think there's better out there now. A couple of years ago, I probably would have done. Not now, personally, for me. But you might think differently. Get down in the comments and let me know. Amanda Staveley spotted at the Spurs Stadium for the NFL game is a bit of a weird one, you could say that, isn't it? I mean, she's obviously come out and said they're not intending on bidding for the club officially now. We know that. So there's a few months before they can bid again, according to the rules. But she's still hanging around the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at the NFL. Now, was she there with some potential investors? Was she entertaining in one of the boxes? I don't know. But there's definitely still links there with Amanda Staveley and her consortium, you would think. That's what it says to me. The interest around Tottenham since Daniel Levy went even is outstanding, really. You know, these 3 expressions of interest. One was obviously before he went, but, you know, I think there's going to be more of these. There's definitely going to be more of these. And are ENIC, just as much as ENIC turn around and say that the club's not for sale, they don't want to sell, are they just holding out to get that price pushed up a bit? Do they want to bid him more for the club? There's definitely something going on behind the scenes. You know, no offers in 20 odd years and then all of a sudden 3 in the space of a month. Something's going on. But, you know, some people want ENIC to remain in charge, or are happy to. I'm happy for them to do it, but let's see them put their money where their mouth is. You know, seen all these statements of, like Brooklyn Eric in his consortium saying they're going to put in £1 billion into transfers and agent fees and all this, that and the other. The fans see this. And then when ENIC don't put their hands in their pockets, that's when the fans aren't going to be too happy about it. So this is going to rumble on. I think it's going to rumble on, and you could see in a few months' time, will Amanda Staveley and her consortium put in another offer for Tottenham? Do you want Amanda Staveley to put in an offer at Tottenham? Again, mixed feelings in the fan base. Would you prefer her consortium over Brooklyn Erics? Or do you want Enoch to stay? Are Enoch going to stay? Interesting few months at Spurs, without a doubt. And this report on Semenyo from several sources, actually. Semenyo, obviously we know Semenyo was linked to Spurs and has been for the last couple of transfer windows. We never went for him really in the end. Bournemouth slapping that huge transfer fee on his head. And I watched the game on Friday evening, and every time I watch Semenyo, he impresses me more and more. This player, you look at it and you think, why just didn't we pay that money in the summer? That solves that left wing problem. Imagine Semenyo on one wing and Kudus on the other wing. That would be devastating. But we didn't pay the money. But I think a club like Bournemouth, with the greatest respect, if you offer them enough money, they can't afford not to take that deal. You know, if we go in with 70, 80 million or whatever it is they want, just pay the money. And get Semenyo. He's young enough. We know he can handle the Premier League. We know he performs in big games, and he's only going to get better and better. Thomas Frank obviously wants this player, and as I say, that left wing slot for me, he just fits in there. It's a perfect fit. Obviously, we missed out on Eza and Morgan Gibbs-White. Semenyo for me would be probably better than either of those. And Morgan Gibbs-White is not setting the world alight now at Nottingham Forest. He obviously signed a new contract, however you feel about that one, but obviously Nuno was sacked about four weeks, a month later, and now he's under Ange, of course. You look at what the Notts Forest fans are saying about Morgan Gibbs-White. They're not happy with him at all. Is his head been turned by Tottenham? He didn't go. Who knows? Could be that Notts Forest are just actually doing pretty poorly at the moment. It's probably that, to be honest. But Semenyo, Bournemouth are doing very well. They're not going to want to sell him, obviously. But as I say, you go in there, you offer the right amount of money, and I think you get Semenyo. Whether you come in January, I totally get that. But this is definitely a player we should be looking to sign for Spurs. If it has to be next summer, fine. But Semenyo is number one on my list of transfer targets, definitely. And finally, Tandberg. What a great purchase for Spurs. New signing in the summer. Already got a few goals there to her name. And Spurs up to third in the WSL. Martin Ho really has made an impact for the Spurs women. Didn't give us much chance, to be honest, after last season. But Martin Ho's come in and they're doing so well. Tandberg, what a signing for the Spurs women. And long may it continue that both our teams are third in the league. Obviously, we sit third in the men's team, as we all know. 2 points from the top. Liverpool not doing brilliantly, setting the world alight, definitely, having lost 3 games in a row. So Liverpool aren't in a good spot. Yes, that mob down the road, we all know where they are. But we're 2 points off. Look, Arsenal are looking strong without a doubt, but if we can just keep touch, got some good teams behind us. City seem to be getting a bit of a revival. Haaland's just scoring goals for fun, as we all know he can. But there's plenty, Chelsea are playing well, but there's plenty of other teams there. We've just got to keep our foot on the gas. We've got to keep this good run going. First win before an international break for 2 years. Very important for confidence to get that particular hoodoo banished. And I think we can, look, we've got to be lucky with injuries. Definitely got to be lucky with injuries, which we haven't been in the past. But I think the style of football under Thomas Frank is not going to put as much pressure on the defence running back, like Mickey van der Ven's hamstrings or whatever you want to call it. I think we're going to look more solid. Yes, the football's not as exciting and swashbuckling, but look where that got us last year. Yes, of course, it won us the Europa League, but actually Ange came away from his type of football to win us that Europa League, and I'll be forever grateful for that. But Thomas Frank just seems to have settled the ship. And, one loss, everything's looking pretty good at the moment. I just hope the club back Thomas Frank in the transfer market. And as I say, we've got to be lucky with injuries. And let's just quietly go about our business. Nobody seems to be talking about Tottenham at the moment, and that's the way I like it. Pundits want to talk about us, fine, but I haven't got a problem with them. Just let us quietly go about our business and see where we can go with it. And I'm quite happy at the moment. It could be a lot worse, let's face it. But get down in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on all those stories today or anything else you want to talk about. And as always, come on you Spurs.